Welcome back to episode 5 of me getting my M Coupe ready for the wrap, and today I'm going to be block sanding the bumper. As you can see, I went ahead and did a little test area to see how it will look. I will update you guys once I get further in. Alright, so I'm just about halfway done. This is the side that I did, which is, I used a 320 grit to sand off all the guide coat. The guide coat was actually really helpful in the fact that it actually helped me see all the high spots and see which spots needed more sanding. And over here, I'm gonna turn it around. This is the part that hasn't been sanded yet. It feels like there's a lot of dust stuck to it, but that's because, you know, it hasn't been sanded yet. So once I sand that should all be smooth. I'm gonna primer it again because there's some areas over here on the front bumper, which I will zoom up to. As you can see, these parts, I sanded a little bit too much, but that's why we're gonna primer it again after I finish sanding. After I do the second layer of primer, I will sand it one more time, and that should be good to go. We can move on to the front hood of the car, and then the front side piece, the side skirts, the trunk, the wing, the lip. You get the point. All right, so before I get into this, I just wanna show you how hairy this front bumper is, or not smooth. There's a lot of stuff that needs to come off. So as I'm doing this, you can kind of see the guide coat on how it's helping me. This part right here, this part is going to be the guide coat. Over here is the part after I sand it. This essentially helps me make sure that I don't sand too much, which I did on some parts, but you get the point. Or I would have over-sanded a lot more parts if it weren't for this guide coat. All right, so I just finished hitting the bumper with 320 and 600. I'm now gonna put on another layer of filler and guide coat. Maybe a thicker layer of filler so I can fill in small cracks in the areas that need it. And after that, once I let it dry, I'm gonna sand it again. And yeah, should be good to go after that. No, wait, I actually need to put on a final coat of primer, another final coat of primer, which will be the top layer. It's just a standard automotive primer. So yeah, after that's done, should be good to go. I'm gonna sand that part too once. I am going to primer. I'm gonna filler, primer, and guide coat this one more time, and afterwards sand it. And then afterwards, I'm gonna put on primer again, which is a standard automotive primer, nothing for a specific purpose, just for primer. And then I'm gonna sand that. And then this bumper can go into the storage while I work on the other panels. Yeah, let's get the filler primering, whatever you want to call it. Also, last time when I was doing all the spraying, I've developed a huge pain on my forearm, which was probably like carpal tunnel. I decided to get a little tool that attaches to a spray can that allows me to spray it by pressing it rather than, you know, using my whole arm and then causing a pain. So basically, I got this tool because whenever I use the spray can, normally my hand or my forearm hurts a lot. It was like super sore for a week. Yeah, this tool right here should alleviate my pain, or at least minimize my pain. So, some unfortunate news. I think I sanded it a little too early. It wasn't fully dry, which it was my fault. I was very impatient with doing this. I think I really wanted to just continue to move forward because I was really getting tired of working on the same panel for hours on end and literally over the span of probably like, you know, 5 weeks. So I sanded a bit too early. I also touched some spots to see if it was dry, and I touched it a little too hard. And well, I'll show you guys in a little bit, but yeah. Long story short, I messed up. I need to wait overnight for it to dry so I can sand it again, smooth it down, primer it, sand it again, then primer it again, then sand it again. All right, so it is the next day. Before I left yesterday, I decided to do another coat of filler primer and guide coat on top of it so I could let it dry overnight. And so with it drying overnight, it should be dry enough for me to sand. So without further ado, let me go ahead and show you guys the bumper of the bits that needs a lot of attention and very questionable on why I did this, but yeah, I'm just gonna show you guys. So as you can see, there was a crack that used to be over here. I essentially layered a bunch of layers of filler primer because if we used Bondo on this area, there's a high likelihood this would crack again due to the fact that the bumper tends to flex a lot. The front bumper is not necessarily a stationary panel. So I tried my best to fill it in with primer. Once I sand it down, I'll show you guys how it looks, and I don't know if I'm doing that correctly, but yeah, we'll see. All right, so now that I have a mask, yesterday I wasn't wearing a mask once I was spraying all the primer again. And let's just say I did not have the best experience. I probably should not inhaled all of the aerosol in that from the can. Never wore a mask like this before. All right, well, this is actually more comfortable than I thought it would be, not gonna lie. All right, let's get to sanding. Woohoo! All right, so update for you guys. The bumper, I've been experiencing a lot of holes or not even leveled surfaces. That may be due to a lot of factors, probably me spraying, not waiting until it's fully dry, or possibly me sanding when it's not fully dry, or because I did not use adhesive promoter. It could be a lot of different factors as to why, I'm not too sure. Again, this is my first time doing body work, so those are my guesses on why that is happening. I'll show you guys in a second. Actually, I'll show you guys right now. If you can look at the center over here, I'm not sure if this shows up on camera. I'll probably put this back down and then show you guys when I talk about it. But there's areas like over here where it's not leveled. I don't know if that's normal when you're using filler primer or not, but obviously I don't want that. So when I wrap over it, it's gonna show that. So now the question is, how do I fix it? Well, I was experimenting with one side of the bumper, which is over here. I was experimenting with this side of the bumper. I essentially knocked it all down with 320 grit, and then I used automotive primer, just your standard primer. After that dried, I used 320 grit and then 600 grit and then 1000 grit. I had to make sure I don't go too high of a grit because I've heard stories of people who went to 2000 grit, the wrap didn't stick. So I'm gonna finish at 1000 grit. But if you look over here, the surface over here is really smooth now. However, because my dumbass decided to use 80 grit, I went too low of a grit, and once I did the holding like that, it left a scratch line. So I went too deep. Now, why did I use 80 grit? Well, I saw that there were holes in between, like it looked like acne scars or the skin of a tangerine. And as I was using the 320 grit, it kept gumming up. So I didn't want to use 320 grit for around another hour. So I decided to use 80 grit to knock off more material. By doing so, I actually made scratches in there. So now, I kind of have a game plan of what I want to do. I'm gonna essentially knock everything over here down to 320 grit, and then once I did that to the best of my abilities, I will use automotive primer. Afterwards, I will use 320, 600 to 1000, see what I'm working with there. And then if it's not like perfect, then I'm gonna do another layer of automotive primer, do the same thing. After that, the bumper should be good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. So, some fantastic news. The test panel that you see that's right in front of you, right over here. Prior to this, when I was last talking about it, I believe I was using 80 grit, which was a extremely, way too low grit to use. And I caused deep scratches within that part of the bumper. So I decided to reprimer it and then sand it again. And lo and behold, all the scratches are now gone. So yeah, everything's moving forward. I can see the finish line for this front bumper, but you know, now I just need to do that to the rest of the bumper. Again, I've said this within the past 6 to 7 weeks. I am hoping to get this done by the end of today. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna stop talking and let's just get to work. Woo! All right, yet another. This has probably been more than 12 hours, but yeah, I'm just about done, I think. Where does the bumper stand? Well, I would say this bumper is 98% done. There's only a few minor spots that needs a little bit more attention, like another layer of primer, along with sanding from 600 to 1000 grit. But for the most part, this bumper is 98% done, like I said. But yeah, it was another 12 hours of work, and I am very beat. There are some areas where it really bugs me that it's not extremely smooth. Like this side over here is perfect. This is the passenger side is splendid. Driver's side, because of the crack on that area where I used a filler primer to try to fill in the crack instead of using Bondo, it did not come out as well as I would like it to. I'm gonna spend more time with it, and hopefully in the next episode, this will actually, like, for I've been saying for the past 5 to 6 weeks, this will actually be done. But I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you guys for watching. Like and comment and subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. Deuces.